Welcome to the stream, guys. Today I'm just flying from Roanoke to, in the middle of flight here, we're flying to Garrett County, Maryland, to G4, and then we're going to fly to Kayway, which is Greene County Airport in Waynesburg, and then back to Roanoke. So we're kind of mid-flight here on our way to Garrett County to G4, and making our way up north in the beautiful Appalachian Mountains of Virginia. Yeah, so thanks for joining, guys. And you can see there we got 114, about 120 miles, actually 130 miles to go to Garrett County. It's a cool little airport on a plateau up in Maryland. Just kind of cool. That's weird. What? Cami DeBellis? The hell is that? Never had that come up before. Thanks for joining. All right, well, I'm actually in the middle of a flight here going from Roanoke, Virginia to Garrett County, 2G4 in Maryland. Running flight FSEconomy and doing some experiments with 11.50 beta 6. I've discovered a number of things about this release. I'm not sure if this is release or just explain in general flying in the northeast area here or mid-Atlantic. There's a lot of tree cover. I'm running with objects on low, but still there's a lot of tree cover, and you could see as I fly here how slowly trees are rendered in front of me. I can actually watch them being rendered as I'm flying here, and it just slows stuff down. I'm getting decent performance right now, but I can tell you that earlier today, before I started the stream, I was flying in this area, and on the flight out to an airport in Virginia, it was fine, and on the way back, it was running at 30 frames per second. I'm using the OVR tool, forcing it at 30 frames. It was running fine with micro stutters, and then on the way back to Roanoke, when I was landing, the frame rates got down to like 8. And I think it was because of rendering. It seems to me like it was because of rendering. So I'm trying to find out a way to turn trees off. I don't want trees on anymore. If there's a way to do that, I think that'll just reduce the processing power and hopefully help speed up frame rates. So if anyone knows a way to do that, it'd be really helpful. Hey, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Say hello in the chat. Appreciate to get to know who you are. Just flying here in the southern Maryland, I should say, going up to Garrett County in southern Maryland, and flying FSEconomy in the DA62, the Aerobask, which apparently is on sale today on X-Plane.org. For like $27. It's a great plane. I highly recommend it. I fly it quite often. It's great in FSEconomy because it's 6 passengers and it's quick, so you can make some money with it in the smaller airports. My favorite 2 planes in FSEconomy are this plane and the PC-12, Carinado PC-12. That's a real workhorse. 10 passengers. You know, I think it's like you could buy one in the FSEconomy for like $900,000, and you can really make some money with that plane. But this is my second favorite for sure. So Garrett County is kind of a cool little plateau airport. It's you'll see it when we get there. It's resting on this little plateau, which is kind of cool. So anyway, say hello in the chat if you'd like, and love to hear from you. Well, thanks for watching. Drew, if you're there, appreciate it. All right, so what do we, let's see, where are we here? All right, we got about 50 miles to Garrett. I was just saying that I'm looking for a way to turn trees off in rendering because I think that's causing all my frame rate issues. Because basically, whenever I fly in areas without trees, I get like smooth 30 frames per second, perfect flying in VR. But when I fly in an area like here in the Northeast where there's a shitload of trees, they're constantly rendering and it just slows shit down. So I want to get rid of trees, see if that helps. I've actually, I mentioned before, I had a situation earlier today. I was flying, flew out of Roanoke back out to someplace in Virginia. It was just fine. And on the way back, frame rates, it started out with like 30 frames per second, running pretty smoothly. And on the way back, it was like 14, 15 frames per second. We'll see what happens on this trip because we're doing a round trip here. But it'll be interesting to see. But I think the culprit is trees. It's my guess. I just think the trees, I'm sitting here, look out the window and I watch as the trees slowly render as I fly along here. Now we're running at 25 frames per second, so we're not getting up to 30. Why? You could just see that. Like, look at that light colored hill there. You'll probably start to see trees render on there. Let's see if we could. It's doing a close-up here. See the tree start to render? That's just eating up frames in CPU. Even though my CPU never gets above 40%, I just think X-Plane's inefficient at the way it renders objects. I think it's grossly inefficient, and that's the problem, so. Anyway, so hope you guys are doing well today. Beautiful Sunday here in New Jersey, and Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Hope you have a great day, safe day. Good to see a lot of states in the country starting to open up things, which is great. Country getting back to where we need to be. If everybody's smart about it, wears face coverings, there's no reason why we can't get things going again in our country, hopefully. Hopefully people see that and understand that. So I'm going to get down. I'm going to get my, just went through a major switch over in scenery there. All right, let's bring this down to 5,200. You can see you could look out the window here. I'm getting the stuttering. Like I said, this only happens in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic area where there's a crap load of trees. So that's what I'm narrowing it down to. So hopefully I'll be able to find a way to turn them off. I see you, man. How you doing? Hope things are going well there. Well, Geode, you guys haven't done a Three Angry Simmers in a while. At least I haven't seen one. I usually look out for that. It's an interesting podcast that you guys do periodically. If you guys haven't checked that out, if you're watching this, you should check that out. But yeah, anyway, so I think I've come to the conclusion that tree rendering is something that I need to take care of. Maybe it's just an obsession, but I think I need to turn off trees. Yeah, it's all ortho. It's all ortho. Um, like I said, when I fly in or in the deserts of California and Nevada, where there's not a lot of tree rendering, it's straight 30 frames per second, locked in, beautiful, comfortable, jitter-free flight. But here in the Northeast, when you get a little bit of, and I have my objects on low, believe it or not. But here in the Northeast, where you get a crap load of tree growth, you could see it degrade as it's flying along here. Now we're back up to 30 frames. But I guarantee you, when we get back into Roanoke, it's going to be pretty ugly. It'll go down to like maybe 17, 18, 20 frames per second, which is stuttering. Actually, like I said earlier, I got this morning I got down to like 14 frames in a spot where when I took off from the airport it was 30. So I can't explain that. It's just no. And then what I did is I rebooted my computer, rebooted X-Plane, obviously, and then everything came back up to 30 frames. So maybe there's a memory leak issue too. I don't know. Kind of tired of trying to figure it out, to tell you the truth. Yeah, down to 14, exactly. Yeah, there's a way to actually. I could disable the overlay, but then I'll lose roads, which I kind of like to have. Um, I'll probably lose the roads overlay, but there is a way to disable trees. You have to go into like the data reference to do it, and I looked at one way to do it, but that didn't work. So I got to feel her out and explain org to see if someone can set me straight on it. I'll try that, see if that works. They're a pain in the neck anyway. They look horrible. They're flat, so they're not great trees anyway. So I figure let's just get rid of them. All right, so we got about 30 miles. And right now, if you look out there, you could see the stuttering. That's what I deal with all the time in the Northeast. Right there, you see that? Yeah. I look out the window this side. It's not quite as bad because you have all this foreground scenery that's covering up the background scenery. But let's say if I go over to this window and I look out this window, I get the stuttering. See? Back into the pilot seat. Let's go outside. You can see it. It's not quite as bad as being inside. Yeah, I looked there too already. There's an old plugin I found, rendering plugin. I tried that. It didn't really work. So I just want to go. I want to go like to the data reference and just turn them off. I think that's the best option. Just get rid of them. I think in X-Plane 10 they actually used to allow you to modify all that stuff, but for some reason you can't do that in X-Plane 11. They took away the ability to configure it or deconfigure, I should say. Decommission probably be a better way to say it. So, I mean, I could be all wet. Maybe it's not the case, but I just have an idea. Yeah, there is one for forests, or is it forest? Yeah, like forest density or something. And I tried playing with it, I just couldn't. It didn't work. So, but I'm looking to see if there's I put a feeler out there to see if there was an expert And the thing about it is this, right? So why, if my CPU never gets above 40%, right? CPU never gets above 40%. My GPU never gets above 50%, right? Never, 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 never. Why would X-Plane slow down? I mean, I'm a computer guy, right? So to me, when I look at that like in its simplest form, the CPU's got half of its capacity still available to process, right? The GPU has half of its capability still available to process, but the application that's running is running slowly. So is it the computer or is it the software? Well, to me, it's got to be the software. It's got to be that the application isn't properly using all of the resources it has, the hardware resources it has available to it. So that to me tells me the way X-Plane 11 renders is inefficient. I'm sorry, it's got to be that. And I'm not the only one seeing this, right? I'm not the only person seeing this. I see people posting this all over the place, especially in VR. And I'm using the OVR tool now, which is actually great. I should have been using that all along. I'm not, I'm not obviously overtaxing my system because my resources are at 50%, right? So I should theoretically be able to gear up objects, but I have to run them on low, and even on low, I get stuttering. So to me, it's inefficient software. It's the only answer. So basically, if I turn off that rendering, any excess rendering, it should help things because it's not going to go after the CPU, right? Yeah, it happened on OpenGL. I'm running Vulkan now. Look over there. You can see. Look how slow those cheese are rendering. See if I could get over there and you could really see it sometimes. How slowly they render. Making our turn here. First turn, and then we'll head into Jarrett. Well, let's see if we can find a light patch of turf here. You'll see the trees rendering. How slowly it happens. So, I mean, I've got my length of distance like at 50 miles, I think. So it's rendering trees out to 50 miles. So I could put it at 25 miles, but then everything looks cloudy. Let's see if I go to here, go to configuration, go to weather. Where am I at? I'm at 70. So let's go to 50. Yeah, I could live with 50, I guess. Yeah, I could live with 50, but still, it's, maybe that'll help a little bit. I'm running at 27 frames per second right now, 28, 27. Nah, no increase in that. It's right about where it was. There's no, again, there's no use for trees with ortho, so I'll just get rid of them. And hopefully that'll help things. All right, so let's see. What do we got here? 12 miles. You can see the stuttering right there. Well, yeah, the 14 was you'll see. Hopefully, it won't happen again. But the scenario was I left Roanoke. It was 29, 30 frames per second. Everything was smooth in this same plane, the BA-62. I flew 80 miles out to an airport in somewhere in eastern Virginia. Turned around, and when I came back to Roanoke in the same plane, frames were at like 14. In fact, got down to like 8 or 9. OSM for overlays. Okay, OSM. I'll look into that. SFD Global. I'll look into that too. But let me ask you a question there, Drew. Do you agree with me that tree generation or rendering could definitely be a culprit? And do you agree that any modern software, graphics software, gaming software should not be bogged down because of trees? There's our airport. Just seems odd to me that that should be an issue. You know, I think Laminar's got a lot of work to do with their software. I mean, listen, I love X-Plane. I've been flying X-Plane for a long time. I was real happy when they did VR. You know, I even, like you, we helped with VR. But I really think that, what is it? It's at least a decade old technology, and I think that they have to catch up on the way that their software is designed. Microsoft Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Okay, right now it's a lot of marketing, but if it lives up to the hype, man, you're gonna have a lot of people, leaving X-Plane and going to Microsoft, especially if they have real world nav and real world GPS, because the graphics, the scenery looks absolutely incredible. Again, let's see what it's like when it drops. They got a long way to go, but see, right now we're getting pretty decent frames. It's pretty smooth here, which is good. Maybe that length of distance helped, but I'm still getting some stuttering. Not much, though. All right, bringing it into Garrett County. Then we're going to turn around. We're going to head to K-Way first. Sorry, got a few people to drop off at K-Way. Try to stop and not have to turn around here. Let's see if we can just use this, because we're going to be taking off the same way. I like this little airport. All right, so we're going to go, I think we could probably go 4,500. Yeah, thank you. Just like you, I'm sure, landing is getting easier and easier. What? Why won't it? Oh, I know. I gotta put the brake on for FSEconomy. Yeah, no comment. Yeah, the trees are awful, man. They're awful. Let me just see where we are as far as fuel goes here. All right, I'm just gonna. All right, so now we're off to K-Way. All right, let me just see down here. Oh, really? Come on, I'm sure you're pretty good at it. I mean, landing thousands of times, right? All right, let me just get my feet per minute. We'll go to 8 plus 8. Let's get this bird up in the air here. Actually, I think I got fly. I only needed 4,000, I think. All right, up, and away. Gear up, flaps up. Autopilot on. Actually, let's go to 45 because we have to get over those mountains over there. Got a little bit of ways to K-Way. That's fairly smooth. I mean, you can see some stuttering. I'm not worried about the micro stuttering. I'll live with that, you know. I'll live with micro stuttering. Off camera. Okay, so you get the camera jitters. No, I don't seem to get those anymore. All right, let's see. We're going to climb to 4,500. That should put us at a good altitude. So yeah, like I was saying, I believe that it's just an inefficient way that they do the rendering in X-Plane. And they should give you the ability to turn that shit off like they did in X-Plane 10. Don't give me the ability to turn deer, cars, density of cars, density of trees. Give me the ability to change all that stuff or control it. Not have to use some Fly with Lua script to do it. I mean, why? Why not? I mean, why did they take all that? I mean, X-Plane 10, you had all that granularity, Why not give people that same granularity, I don't know. I think they need to do that. The ortho does look awesome in this area, though, that's for sure. Right, exactly. They took a step backwards. That was a step backwards. You had all that granularity, the ability to monitor all that stuff, and they took that away. And they try to make it like quote unquote idiot proof, which to me was a mistake, I didn't know you were in Pennsylvania, dude. So my oh, you're now I do remember you live near Pittsburgh. Yeah, my it's pretty far away from you, but my in-laws used to have a place up near Lake Wallenpaupack, on a small lake called Paupacan Lake. My wife and my family, we spent a lot of time up there, in the summers and stuff, and we're actually thinking about moving from New Jersey to like Central PA, not as far as Wayne County. That would be Wayne County and Pike County. Not as far as Pittsburgh, but maybe out by like York area, that kind of area. But just tired of living in New Jersey, to tell you the truth. Too expensive here. Way, way too expensive. Yeah, it's the Lake Wallenpaupack is awesome. It's a great area. Um, Actually, in it's funny because in FSEconomy, I have I own the airport right near the lake. It's called Mountain Bay, and you take off from that airport, and you can fly around Lake Wallenpaupack. Wallenpaupack's huge. I used to actually have a boat on that lake. It's 52 miles of shoreline, believe it or not. It's a huge lake, but great fishing there, great boating. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. Yeah, I haven't really looked into West Virginia. That's tempting too, but I'm kind of like I don't want to be too far from. I want to be far from a major city, but not too far from a major city. If you know what I mean. I guess it's having your cake and eating it too, but um, certainly tired of the cost of living in New Jersey. New Jersey is just it's out of control. You know, I mean, there's actually, believe it or not, there's actually municipalities in New Jersey. Last year, the government, I should say, they passed a law that said that municipalities could charge a rain tax, which meant that they can charge you um, based upon the amount of property that you have to compensate for any water runoff from your property that has to go into um, the drainage system. So they added another way for a municipality to tax you. It's insane. They call it the rain. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm absolutely 100% serious. You can Google it. New Jersey rain tax. Just Google that. And that's basically they come up if not all of them have done it, but some municipalities have done it, where they will charge you an annual tax. If you have an acre of property, right? They will charge you an annual tax because of the rainwater that runs off your property into the drainage system. Yeah. So you already pay your taxes for the drainage system, but now you got to pay more taxes. Oh yeah. No, 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 no. And that's not the first of it. That's I mean I should say that's not the last of it. They'll come up with other taxes. It's just insane. It's just insane. It's like our governor, right, with this whole mess that we're in with state or New Jersey was like one of the first stay-at-home states. He just extended it for another 30 days. Okay, um, but back in late March, okay, he was I think he was one of two governors in the country to close the gun stores. Right, he decided he wanted to close the gun stores, and a couple of days later, he started letting people out of jail because the low level offenders, he started letting low level offenders out of jail for fear that they were going to catch corona in the jail. So he closed gun stores and let people out of jail. Yeah, that's exactly. It's you can't make this shit up. This is what this guy does. It's just insanity. And the property taxes already are absolutely they rival California. If not worse. I think we're the second worst in the country, next to California. It's just awful. And the closer you are to a train line that goes to New York or Philadelphia, the higher your taxes. That's basically how it works. So if you're close to a train like the Northeast Corridor to go into New York, right, or to go into Philly, if you're close to that, you pay a premium in taxes. They don't. There's no like. It's like a unwritten thing. Yeah. The only problem I have with PA. Okay. The only problem I have with PA, and I know this because when my father-in-law passed away, we got hit with this. PA has horrible estate laws. When you die in Pennsylvania, They take 4% of your estate. So, and there's no cap and there's no minimum. So, like in New Jersey, your estate doesn't get taxed unless it's over like $700,000. Okay, which is a pretty high premium, you know. In Pennsylvania, if your estate is $10, okay, they want $4. Sorry, so they want 40 cents, right? They want 4%. If your estate is $100, they want $4, and they have to pay them within 90 days of death. They really, it's one of the worst in the state and in the country. And we were like, when my father-in-law passed away, we went to the attorney to to look at the will and all that. He goes, oh, by the way, we got this 4% thing. I'm like, what? It was a huge amount of money we had to pay. And by the way, my father-in-law had already paid tax on that money, right? He had paid tax on the money, everything in his estate he had paid tax on already, right? So now Pennsylvania gets a chunk when you kick the bucket. It was awful. Yeah, so that's the only thing. But other than that, it's got some nice, really nice areas, and relatively, compared to where I am in New Jersey. It's a nice move. It would be a nice move, but so we'll see. Maybe in the next year or so. One thing I need is a really good internet connection. That's for sure. But it's tempting. Yeah, they get you coming and they get you going. No doubt about it. Yeah, okay, like yeah, so I'm like I'm about 40 miles northeast of Philly in New Jersey, right? Um Northern Philly, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, like north of Philly. I guess that's like Doylestown in that area. It's not my favorite. It's a little congested there and stuff. I think you're right. I think they should get like out to more central, east of Harrisburg is, where you want to kind of be, you know. I think you want to be close enough to Harrisburg for like hospitals and stuff like that, right? But, you know, I want to be rural, man. I want to have like a house on a decent piece of property with, solar panel and generator and, a little bit of land and, place to grow a garden and stuff like that. Yeah, Altoona, right? But it's a huge state. It's huge. Horizontally, it's a huge state, Pennsylvania. I mean, really, where you live in Pittsburgh, that's like you're in the Midwest, and it spans the Midwest to the east. Because you could argue that Philadelphia is in the east, right? So it spans like a region, which is a pretty big state. All right, here we go. We're getting into K-Way here now. Let's see if I can pick her up. There she is. Let's see what we got. Frames. We're at 29, 28, 29. All right, let's see if we could grease this one. Get our trim set. I mean, you think about it, those trees actually look fake. Let's get rid of them. Gear down, flaps to 12%, I guess. Is that 12%? Doesn't say. They call it T. First position. I get her down to 119, flaps full. Well, I mean, what I also don't like about X-planes when the trees are blocking the runway, like in this case, I got that one, I could see that one tree sticking out there. In real life, that tree would never, ever, ever, ever be there. All right, we're running at 91 knots. See that tree? Look at that tree. Come on. The tree would never be there. Boom. All right, so the rates are pretty good here. Frame rates are pretty good here. A little bit of stuttering. You could see the runway lights there, but that's manageable. Take that. All right, so now going back to Roanoke from here, we got 156 miles. So what we're just gonna do is flip right here in the runway. I know that's illegal, but we're bad like that. All right, cool. So let's get that set up. Get the brake on. All right, now we're going to. They look ugly, man. All right, we got 30 frames per second right now. All right, let me just load up my return trip from K-Way. 6 passengers. We got plenty of fuel. Start. Okay, good. FSEconomy is ready to go. Yeah, Roanoke. I own that airport in FSEconomy, and I got it for sale. All right, so let's see. We're gonna fly her. We're gonna go up to. Let's go up to 7,000. Oops. Hold on. Let me screw it up here. Bring her up to $7,000. We've got plenty of fuel. We got our passengers on board. Let's rock and roll. Brakes released. You can see some stuttering on the runway, but again, it's manageable. But I bet you if we didn't have all this scenery around, it wouldn't be that way. All right, coming up to speed here, 75, 77, 81, rotate. Gear up, flaps up. Gotta watch out for this mountain here. Get our autopilot on. And we're going to climb to 7,000. Yeah, the default at Roanoke is really nice, actually. It's great, actually, which is one of the reasons why I bought it in FSEconomy. But like I said, hopefully we won't see, but you'll probably see when we get back there how badly the frame rates are. Yeah, I mean, seems to me like that's something that shouldn't. It's just bad programming. I know I keep saying that, but that's just bad programming, if you ask me. If I was running a project and developing a flight simulator, okay, and a beta version or an alpha version came back to me, and I looked at it and I saw that rendering of trees was causing a frame hit, I would go to the developer and say, "What the hell are you doing? You got to come up with a better way to do that. You can't have tree rendering cause frame delay. You can't do that. You got to work that out. Figure out a better way to do it. You know, that's just what I'm saying." All right, we got a long ways to go here, so let's get the pedal to the metal. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that the flight physics are great. I agree with that. There's no doubt about that. You got to give them that, and that's what Laminar kind of like is their focus, and I get that, and that's impressive. So, by the way, I was just thinking, Drew, like how it's pretty amazing that we're well over 2,000 people on the VR Aviators group in Facebook. It's pretty wild. What did it take, like a year and a half? I think it was something like that. I still remember I was flying. I was doing a stream, and you were on the stream, and I forget who else. But I was flying over some airport in California. What the hell was it? 29 Palms, I think it was. And we started talking about putting a Facebook group together, and here we are now. We got, what is it, 2,200 people? 2,200 people, something like that? Let's look here. Where is it? Come on. Yeah, 2,265 people. That's pretty cool, man. And you know what I really like about this group, this Facebook group? What I like about it is, I'm going to put the whammy on it by saying this, okay? We don't have a lot of people on there that are, making bogus posts or doing spam and stuff like that. It's very well controlled, very well participated, if you will. Now, it's probably because we've been pretty diligent on who we let in. But it's great because it doesn't really require, a lot of eyeball to manage it, which is awesome. From time to time we get maybe like once a month, even if that, I think we get like a bad post or whatever. But for the most part, it's been really easy to manage, Yeah, we don't have to babysit people at all. There's no, like once in a while I remember removing a post here or there, But and we average like 17 new people a week, which is pretty good. It's pretty good, and it's all word of mouth now, right? It's all word of mouth now, which is good. But I think it provides a good service for people because I think, especially those that are first getting into VR, it's there's a lot of experience on there, and people that are keeping up to what's going on much better than I have been. That are helping others, like yourself and guy Steve. Is it Walton or Walsh? He's always on there posting information to help people, which is great, and that's what it was supposed to be all about. Oh yeah, I know there's a lot of devs in there. That's good. Yeah, that's good. It's good that they're in there because they're seeing what VR people need. I think, most people will, well, not, there's still a massive amount of people that don't use VR. And it's probably because the technology just isn't, you got to have a pretty beefy system and all that. So it's those barriers to entry are still there. But for those of us that are using it or have been using it, it's great to have those developers in that group because if they're monitoring it, they're seeing what people are struggling with, And good for them for doing that. But yeah, it's so great to not have to constantly be plucking, people out of it. Well, that's great that they're messaging you. That's awesome. That's awesome. I know the last really the interactions that I had was with, I forget the guy's name at Laminar that did VR. Um, I had some alpha interaction with him when they were first coming out with it in release, was it 30, X 11.30, whatever it was. And then a few things here and there, and I still get, yeah, not Ben, the other guy. Not Ben. The hell is his name? He's got glasses. I can't remember. He was the original VR. Chris, yeah, Chris. And I still get the alpha, not alpha, but the early beta invitations from Jennifer, which is good. So, I run those and try to give feedback and stuff. But yeah, I still think it's a great platform, especially navigation and comms, like Pilot Edge and all that. It's got all that going for it. And I actually overlook the performance things because of those features. Those are the things that, when I was, at the time when I was like really getting into like Pilot Edge and I was taking the cat tests and all that, and I just haven't had really a lot of time to devote to that lately. But when I was doing that, I couldn't imagine doing that on on any other platform than X-Plane because you got the real world nav, you got the real world comms, and it made it so much more realistic, especially the flight characteristics. That's the big thing. That's important. But one second, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah, you must have a lot of time for simming, man, because I only got time for X-Plane. uh, Oh, I was hitting the rudder there. Sorry. Yeah, I've looked at DCS. I didn't. I haven't looked. I didn't look at the new one. Probably should. I know you're much more into the military stuff. I'm more into, the GA stuff. So you're working for, yeah. Well, listen, I've been working from home for 21 years. So it's it's a blessing working from home for sure. Yeah. I mean, I was actually talking to my wife. We were talking the other day about it. So 21 years. Think about it. I used to travel. Oh yeah, I used to travel about 45 minutes each way to work in the last office job I had. Right. So you're talking about a 90-minute, hour and a half a day commute. Right. I think I calculated it over the 21 years. If I remember correctly, I saved like 2 years in commuting time. Think about that. 2 years worth of time. That's a lot, man. No, to me, there's no reason to work in an office anymore. Yeah, it was ridiculous amount of time. I mean, I could do the calculation here. It was like let me just make sure it was 90 minutes a day times you work 200 days a year, right? It's 200 days. So that's that minutes times divided by 60. So it's 300 minutes a year times 21 years. So it's 6,300 minutes. No, hours. 6,300 hours. Wait. I forgot. Let me do this again. So it's 90 minutes times 200, right? So that's 18,000 minutes a year. So divide that by 60. Now we're put into hours. So 300 hours a year times 21. So 6,300 hours in 21 years. Divide that by 24. Sorry, 262 days. So it was 262 days. I had that wrong. 262 days of time. Think about that, man. That's a lot of time, right? 262 days. And that's not counting like stopping at the store or doing this or that or traffic jams. It's probably closer to 300 days in 21 years. Now my commute is going down the stairs to my office in the basement and going up the stairs. And what's been great about it is, as my kids were in high school, they're playing sports and stuff. I was always able to go to every game, and because it's right after work. Just get out, finish your work, and you go do your shit. You don't have to drive and 45 minutes to get anywhere, or an hour to get anywhere. So it's been great. Not to mention, I think the stress level too, the savings and stress level from not, road rage, traffic jams. Here in New Jersey, the traffic is awful. Wear and tear on the car, right? So for 21 years, I haven't had to have a commuting car. I have a car. It sits in the garage, and I drive it like 7,000 miles a year, right? Because I'm working from home. So look at the carbon footprint, the amount of money I save on gas and carbon production and all that. So when you think about it, if you want the Green New Deal, you want the green way, everybody should be working at home if they can. Now, the oil companies don't want that because you're not going to be buying gas. The car companies don't want that because you're not going to be buying more cars. You could buy a car and you could keep a car for 10 years easily, right? Easily keep a car. If you're putting 7,000 miles a year on a car, keep a car for 10 years. Why not, right? So commuting is a big economy booster, engine, part of the economy. So if a lot of people move to working at home, that's a big shift, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's a huge amount of money. And not only that, stopping at restaurants or stopping at convenience stores or going shopping, or while you're in your car, you're doing on the way home to and from work, you're doing other stuff. So that's, you know, all of a sudden you've got 30% of the population now working from home that used to work in an office. That'll cause a hit on the economy, especially like you said, gas and oil, or oil and auto. You know, yeah, like my car. I think I was even before the stay-at-home orders. I mean, I would go like 10 days without driving my car because I don't need to. Sits in the garage. All right, 36 more minutes to get to where we're going. We're starting to fly into the mountains of Appalachia here. But yeah, so I'm sure it's a lot of people are going to get, you know, it's going to be a bummer for a lot of people to have to go back to the office for sure. That's for sure. No problem, dude. I'm anxious to see what the frame rates are going to be when we get back to Roanoke. By the way, if you're looking to buy this plane, the DA-62 by Arabesque, it's on sale right now on xplane.org. I'm not sure for how long, but I think it's 27. It's normally $35. You can get it for 27 right now. So if you're interested in this plane, now's the time to buy it. I highly recommend it. It's awesome. It's got great um, capabilities. There is one feature that you have to turn off. There's this VR mouse feature, I think it is. Let me just look here. So if you go into the, this is really important when you get this plane. It's a frame eater. Why won't let me bring up the options? Let me see if I can bring up the options. Yeah, here we go. All right, so if I look at these options, right, under GA 1000, you see right here. Oh, wow, this has to be disabled. That's part of my problem. This right here, I had it disabled before. I don't know why it's enabled. So you want to disable these G1000 MFD mouse features, and I should see frame rates increase here. Oh, wow, because I had that disabled before. Oh, now we're popping. Oh, good thing I checked that. So yeah, so that thing, you have to disable that with this plane. Wow. For some reason it turned it back on. I guess I need to check that every single time. Just make sure you guys saw that. So if you go to the Arabesque, there it is. This right here where it says enable MFD enable G1000 custom engine. Okay. That's got to be disabled. All right, so I just found a problem. So If you look at the D1000 options, there's this feature. It's called Enable G1000 MFD Flight Plan Mouse Features. Showing this right here. This is supposed to be off, and when it's on, it causes major frame suckage. I had it off before, but for some reason it got re-enabled. I just turned it off, and the second I turned it off, frames popped up to 30, so that could have been the problem here, part of the problem. Yeah, you gotta basically, I don't know about that one, but definitely this one. Now let's just look at the, yeah, it seems smoother. Alright, so that's my bad. But here's the thing, I had that turned off, and now it automatically turned it on again, so gotta check that, I guess, every time I fly this plane. So let's see what it's like at Roanoke. But that could have been part of the problem. I'm still gonna turn trees off, though. I'm still turning trees off. I don't care. But yeah, I don't know about the Velocity Twin, but you can check that. If it has that in there, if it has that option, I would turn that off. That's a good question, but I'll tell you that it's a good question about the Skunkworks thing, but I tested it like when I first found out about that thing, that option, and I turned it off. I rebooted, turned it back on. You know, I rebooted, loaded up the plane, and it was still off. But I don't know why what turned it back on. I'll have to figure that out. But I don't know. I don't know. Don't know. Yeah, I don't use this. I don't know if I don't think I use the Skunkworks thing. I gotta look. It's hard to keep track of all this shit, to tell you the truth. But, oh, see, now the frames are back down to 24, 25, so. Let me just look at something here. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, you mean the guy who develops for Arabesque is a VR committed guy? Uh, well, that's good to know. So, but oh, V Sky Labs. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know they're into, I know they're into that. But I'll tell you, I'm looking at the rates now. So we're at 30, but it goes down to 24, and then back up to 30, and down to 24. Again, the proof is going to be when we land at Roanoke. That's going to be the proof. But I was saying, if you're interested in this plane, I do highly recommend it. $27. It's on sale right now in the xplane.org site. I just saw an email for it, so check it out. The Arabesque DA62. It's a great plane. It's great for FSEconomy too, because 6 passengers, pretty quick, 162 knots generally flies at, and get you in and out of places real quick, and you can make a good chunk of money with it. I was saying before, my 2 favorite planes in FSEconomy are this plane and the Carenado PC-12. The PC-12, 10 passengers, it gets up to about 230 knots. Really efficient on gas, on fuel. And, basically it's a workhorse. I've got my secret spots in FSEconomy where I can load up from one airport to a couple other places and make like $100,000 in like 8 flights or 9 flights, which is great. So, yeah, that PC-12. If you're gonna, the other one that's really good is uh, the Beechcraft C90. That's another one. I think that's 12 passengers, and that one you get when you get X-Plane, right? I think you could buy a Carolina version of that, but the X-Plane version is fine, and you can get those decently for about 100, about 900,000 too. So that's another good plane for FSEconomy. Not as fast as the PC-12 though. No, this is the 62. Yeah, 62. No, I haven't tried the Islander. Not my kind of plane. My next plane, if I'm going to buy one, is the guys at AFM. What the hell? Aircraft Flight whatever. I forget the name of the company. They made the M20. So those guys are working on a Cirrus SR-22 GT. That's the next plane I'll buy. Even though it's only 3 passengers, I love that plane. So that's probably the next one I'll buy. I'm happy with this plane and the PC-12. Those are the ones I fly the most. Once in a while, I'll fly the Cessna, the 172. But generally, it's this plane. This plane is the one I fly the most. You know, it's got those twin small little Mercedes engines, so gets up to 162 knots. Fly you where you need to fly pretty quick. Fun to fly, easy to land. Oh yeah, that one looks like a nice. Those guys will do a nice job on it, I think. Those guys are doing. That guy Coop from AFM. What's the name of the? Is it Aircraft Flight? I forget the name of the company. It's AFM, I think, or ASM. Anyway, but they did the M20, which was a cool little plane. Yeah, moving pretty smooth right now. Take a look outside here. Close up on the SR-20, the DA-62. See the 2 little kids in the back there? Yeah, it could be. Although the mirror looks pretty smooth. It's probably just internet traffic. Oh, when I pan around, you get it. I tell you, on my side, OBS looks clean, so it's probably internet. All right, so let's check the status here. What do we got? We got about 70 miles to go, 22 minutes. 7,000 feet above the Appalachian Mountains in western Virginia. Looks like we're coming up on a ski resort there. Definitely. Let's take a look outside here. Definitely a ski resort. Oh, maybe it's a golf. Is it a golf course? No, it's a ski resort. Gotta be a ski resort. Another ski resort. Those look like ski trails to me. Looks like the snow was partially melted when the satellites took the pictures too. Back in the plane. Yeah, it definitely looks too long to be golf holes. That's for sure. That's for sure. That is for sure. All right, I gotta get this flight over quick. My wife is itching to go. We're gonna go out to this park today, get some fresh air. All right, guys, I gotta cheat here a little bit. I'm gonna put it into 2x mode here just to speed up things a little bit. Yes, thank you. Appreciate that. I'm just going to go into 2x mode here just to speed up things a little bit. It's not cheating. FSEconomy allows that. I don't like to do it, but sometimes I have to do it. But my rule of thumb is I only do it up until like when there's 10 minutes left, because I want to give X-Plane enough time to catch up on rendering. When you push the multiples of the flight time up, the rendering ceases. So, and once you go back to normal time, normal speed, it has to catch up, and sometimes it takes a while to do. So give it a little bit of time here just to save a little time, so I don't get into Dutch on Mother's Day. All right, what do we got here? I'm going to pop it up to 4x ground time. Alt-T is the command. Sometimes you just got to speed up time. We'll get to where we're at 10 minutes and then I'll settle her back down. Boy, it's a beautiful area. Especially with the ortho, it looks great.
Flight 209er clear for Vector 324.
We have clearance, Clarence. Roger.
Hey,
What's our Vector,
jingle balls. Thanks for the follow, man. Appreciate that. Yeah. I don't use it often, but sometimes when, I'm getting a little bit of nudge from the better half, I kind of put it into fourth gear a little bit here, Sometimes it crashes X-plane. Let's hope that doesn't happen. We'll just get under 10 minutes and then I'll... We're almost there. So once I finish this pause here, then we'll go back to, we'll get it to regular time. That's 8. That's 16. Don't want to go 16. Back to normal. Yeah, no, none of that. No WA. No WA. Especially today. So now X-Plane's catching up on all the rendering. So if we go outside here and look, you see there's no trees, right? So we'll probably start to see that all get updated. But you can definitely see the stuttering. Hasn't caught up yet. All right, let me see. What are we going to do here? We're going to get down to 5,000. Just because we can. All right, so I turned the ground speed accelerator off when there was 10 minutes left from the waypoint, right? So there was probably about 15 minutes left in the flight, right? So we're still not caught up on rendering because I don't see any trees down there yet. So X-Plane is now chugging away trying to catch up on the rendering, right? And if I take a look at the CPU, I will tell you that CPU's at 47%, GPU's at 42%. Yeah, so CPU is undertaxed, and X-Plane still has not updated its rendering at all. Look down there, there's no trees, there's no buildings, there's nothing, right? X-Plane is still figuring out what the hell it's got to do. So there's a good chance that when we get to Roanoke, which is 15 minutes, or actually 10 minutes away right now, maybe a little longer. Yeah, maybe 15 minutes away. We may not have scenery. Which is another flaw, if you ask me. But I know I point out the flaws a lot. Like I said, there's a lot of great things about X-Plane, but there's a lot of things that aggravate the crap out of me. That's for sure. No, now we're at 16 frames per second, 18 frames per second, 15 frames per second, and I basically believe that's because most of the cycle times in the software is being dedicated to rendering, even though the CPU is only at 50%. It doesn't multitask properly, so that it can't feed you graphics and render at the same time. It's basically hogging up frame rate because it's rendering. Okay? So yeah, so right now we're at 17, 15, 17, 15, 17. Okay? Which is basically half of what we were, right? Now, I turned off the ground speed 5 minutes ago, and we're still not caught up on rendering. That's something wrong there, if you ask me. All right, let's get down to 4,000. We're still not caught up on rendering. Yeah, I'm not going to reload scenery. I'm relying on the software to do that. So 18, 17 frames per second. Still don't see trees on the ground. There's been no rendering. What's it doing? What's it doing? By the way, this happens whether or not you use time compression, right? At least for me. Time compression doesn't make a difference. Now I'm starting to see trees show up, I think. All right, so we've been off of time compression for almost 8 minutes, and it's still struggling. Where are we? 17 frames per second, 19 frames per second, 20 frames per second. All right, so we're getting close now. We got about 10 miles to go. Roanoke's right over there to my 1 o'clock. I don't see many trees on the ground, so that just tells me it's not rendering at all. What the hell is it doing? And if I'm looking, I can see Roanoke there, and I don't even see a runway. This is what happens all the time. All right, so let's see. What am I at? 18. Let's see. Making my turn. I'm looking at the field, and it's the runway is not drawn yet. In fact, most of the buildings aren't even drawn yet. Okay, I'm going to take control here. You could see 16 frames per second. You could see it's stuttering. Now you could see, I'm going to zoom in here, no drawn runway, right? That's how far X-Plane's rendering is behind right now. It's at 15 minutes to catch up since I, turned off time compression. Come on. Seriously? I'm just going to fly by the airport just to see if we could see the rendering take place. Maybe this is a bug with 5.0. I don't know. Starting to see some trees on the ground there. There's a few trees. But there's Roanoke, a couple planes on the ground, a couple of buildings. No runway. Got a little bit of tarmac there. Hasn't been drawn yet. Oh, there it goes. Start to just fill in the roads. Part of the runway. See that? This happens all the time in this area. So I'm just going to kind of turn wide here. Get some flaps going. Let's go make a right here so we can check out the airport. Oh, there's the runway. It just drew in. We missed it. It just drew in the airport. Okay. Frame rate is at 17. All right, so I'm going to go out here, and we'll come in and land. You can see the stuttering. This is what I deal with all the time. Now it's starting to render and fill in. This is what I deal with all the time. Can't see chat right now, so let me just land this plane, then I'll catch up on chat. Got some buildings filled in now, and some trees on top of those buildings. Let's see, where's my runway? Right there. There we go. You can see the stuttering. This is what I deal with all the time. I wouldn't doubt if it's at 16 right now. I just checked. Gear down. Get myself lined up. Now, the last time when I took off from this runway, it was 29. Now it's 15. Full flaps. Gotta make sure my trim is set properly. Gearing. Throttling down. Got plenty of runway to work with. Alright, right on the center line. See the stuttering. It's probably about 9 frames right now. Look at that. Boom, boom. Now that's so hard to do. It slows up and speeds up. Look at that. See that? So hard to land like that. Alright, there you go. Get her to stop. That's what I deal with in frames. You just saw it. You just saw what I deal with. You see? That's what I deal with all the time, man. Now it's back up to 29 frames per second. Yeah, I might make a clip of it and show them that. I might make a. I may do that. I think that's probably a good idea. That's probably a good idea. But I deal with that all the time. I deal with that all the time. In the Northeast, and sometimes in California, but any area that's got heavy scenery, heavy trees, that's what I deal with. Right now we're back up to 30 frames per second. But you saw how long it took to render. I mean, when I came into that airport over those hills, it should have been already there. It had 15 minutes to render it. Yeah, I got it down safely, that's right. But in any event, guys, listen, Drew, it was great talking with you. I got to get going. I hope you have a great day today. Get out and get some fresh air, man. And I'm going to see if I can make a clip of this and show it to Laminar. Or at least maybe I'll just make a dedicated video and just show it to them. But thanks for your advice. And again, thanks for all the work that you do on the VR Aviation group. It's awesome. Yeah, go mow your lawn, man. All right, have a great day, guys. Stay safe. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.